You know that t-shirt you're wearing? Or the sheets on your bed? Ever stop to think about their story? Not just the design, but the hidden story of their journey and their impact on our planet? Today, we're going to unravel the true environmental cost of our clothes and maybe discover a surprisingly ancient solution. So let's start with the big picture. The global textile industry, the engine behind fast fashion, is responsible for a massive 2 to 8% of all greenhouse gas emissions. That's a huge footprint for something that's just part of our everyday lives.
And the waste, the scale of it is almost impossible to get your head around. Think about this. Every single second, a garbage truck's worth of textiles gets tossed out, dumped in a landfill, maybe burned. It's just this constant, never-ending stream of waste.
And the problem is so much bigger than just emissions. We're talking about enough water to fill 86 million Olympic swimming pools every year. It's the third biggest contributor to plastic waste, and it's responsible for 9% of the microplastics that are literally choking our oceans. These numbers are just staggering. Okay, it's easy to feel a little overwhelmed by all that. But what if a really powerful solution isn't some brand new futuristic technology? What if it's an ancient tradition? Let's shift gears and take a look at India's handloom sector. The contrast here is just wow. On one side, you have this anonymous, chaotic pile of industrial waste. And on the other, you see the focused, personal, human-powered craft of handloom weaving. It's a totally different philosophy of how we make things. So what makes it so different? Well, for one, it's human-powered. You're replacing fossil fuel guzzling machines with the actual skill of an artisan. It's also decentralized, happening in these small community clusters instead of giant factories. So by its very nature, it's already a low-carbon way of making textiles. And we're not talking about some niche hobby here. The handloom sector provides a living for over 3.5 million artisans in India, and a lot of them are women in rural communities, which makes this a powerful engine for social good, not just environmental good. But look, saying something is green or sustainable, that's not really enough anymore, is it? We need to be able to prove it. So how can we actually scientifically measure and validate the idea that this traditional method is truly better for the planet? Well, the key metric we use is the carbon footprint. It's basically a measure of all the greenhouse gases that are released during the creation of a product, from the very beginning to the very end. This is the gold standard for measuring climate impact. But it's important to note that a carbon footprint is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. A full life cycle assessment, or LCA, looks at everything: water use, land impact, toxicity, the whole shebang. For our purposes today, though, we're really going to zoom in on that carbon footprint since it's the key indicator for climate change. And calculating this isn't some kind of magic. It's a really clear 4-step scientific method. First, you define exactly what you're measuring. Step 2, you collect all the data, every bit of energy, water, you name it. Third, you do the accounting, basically converting all that data into greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, step 4, you interpret the results and figure out what it all means. All right. Enough with the theory. Let's see this science in action by applying it to a real, actual product. We're going to follow the carbon story of a single handloom bedsheet, and this is all based on a really fascinating study from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. And there it is. This is the exact type of product they analyzed, a beautiful, hand-woven cotton bedsheet from the famous Kannur cluster in Kerala, India. The researchers, they tracked every single input that went into making one of these. Okay, so after all that meticulous data collection, all that accounting, what was the final number? What is the actual carbon footprint of one of these handloom bedsheets? The answer is just 1.285 kilograms of CO2 equivalent. That equivalent just means it bundles all the different greenhouse gases into one easy-to-understand number. And let me tell you, for a textile product of this size, that is an incredibly low number. Right away, that tells you its environmental impact is tiny. So where does that little bit of a footprint even come from? Well, you might guess electricity would be the biggest chunk, but it's not. Almost half of it comes from burning wood, which they use as a heating fuel in the dyeing process. After that, yeah, electricity and water are the next biggest pieces of the pie. And this is the crucial slide. This is the whole ballgame right here. The handloom bedsheet comes in at about 1.3 kilos of CO2. Its industrial powerloom made equivalent? Over 5 kilos. The handloom process has a carbon footprint that's nearly 4 times smaller. That is the massive, undeniable environmental advantage we're talking about. So, what does all this data actually mean? Why does it matter so much to prove this with science? Well, it's because it directly connects a heritage craft to a sustainable future. For starters, science gives this tradition incredible credibility. We now have verifiable proof that handloom is a low-carbon choice. And that empowers those 3.5 million artisans with a really powerful story to tell. It helps us as consumers make smarter choices, and it could even open up new economic doors for these communities, things like carbon credit markets. And this isn't just a grassroots thing. It has support from the very top. As India's Minister of Textiles, Girij Raj Singh, put it, this is all about building a stronger, greener handloom sector for India's future. It's about seeing our heritage as a path to innovation.
Which kind of leaves us with this one final fascinating question. In our constant search for high-tech, futuristic fixes for climate change, could it be that one of the very best answers for sustainable fashion has been with us all along, woven into the fabric of our most ancient traditions? Something to think about.